Today, attracting attention by its approach to the treatment of the subnormal, the Levin Hospital and Training School was founded in 1945 with 40 beds in the buildings of a former Royal New Zealand Air Force camp. Now, it houses 700 patients from the North Island of New Zealand, of whom 400 are under the age of 18. As with all New Zealand state hospitals, treatment is free under the Social Security scheme. Even now, there's a waiting list of over 200 for admission to this hospital alone. The welfare of the Health Department's psychiatric and psychopedic hospitals is administered by the Director of Mental Health, Dr. S.W.P. Myrons.
Each of the special hospitals for the mentally subnormal in New Zealand has an individual character. This film is about a rapidly developing hospital in a rapidly developing district. Largely by accident, the hospital has a predominantly young patient population. So it's specially well suited to the very active and still experimental training programs and techniques which the staff are working out in collaboration with their patients and with the surrounding community.
Fortunately, the patients with the least potential are in the lowest numerical group. The severely subnormal, with IQs of less than 15, many with gross physical defects, impose a heavy burden on the nursing staff. Although, in a few cases, a degree of training in self-dependence helps reduce the burden. Inevitably, hospital staff-patient ratio is high. A total staff of 300, of whom 200 are nurses, tend 700 patients. As a rule, children are admitted from the age of 3 years upwards. But if social factors and the need for specialized care make it impossible for the baby to be kept at home, it will be admitted at an earlier age. The child's first year at hospital is spent in the care of the nursing staff, whose aim is to achieve a relationship and start social training in self-dependence.
Never mind about your food. It's very nice. Hey,
The incidence of subnormality in New Zealand is comparable to that of the United Kingdom and the United States of America, approximately 2 to 3% of population. Subcultural defectives comprise about 50% of admissions, Mongols about 25%. Stability of hospital population is maintained to some extent through the shorter life expectancy of various types of patients. 75% of Mongols seldom reach the age of 21. Working with the nursing staff in this villa, the physiotherapist tends to the needs of those children with physical defects, with the primary objective of the child's mobility.
So, boy, you move them up and down.
As soon as the child is old enough to walk, it attends kindergarten and comes under the guiding influence of the training officer, an association that will become very close with the gradual development of the child.
That's right. Where's the other one? Hepsy got it. Hepsy got it. Here, you put that one on here. Good boy. Now, put some more square ones on here. More square ones. That's right.
Comes the day when, for the first time, the children leave the sanctuary of the infant's villa. Together with the training officer and an older patient, they head for the main kindergarten, which caters for the 4 to 6-year-olds.
Say bye-bye. Raise your hand. Bye-bye. Raise your hand.
The free playroom is equipped with various toys and equipment which encourage the children in bodily activity. In the classroom, manipulative activity, which started in the villa, continues progressively. And here, the closest cooperation is required between training and nursing staff, as the nursing staff assist in many tasks which are not strictly within the usual sphere of nursing activities. Stepping stones of staggered heights in the playground transform serious training in concentration and coordination into an enjoyable game of fun.
Good. Well done, Anna. Look at your feet. Patrick, Richard. Now, don't push him. You wait your turn. Come on, Patrick. That's a bit quicker. That's it. Oh, up the next one. That's the one.
In any hospital for the subnormal, the social experience a child will encounter must be vastly different from that of a child living with its own family. The training program is designed to provide patients with experiences and situations as similar as possible to those in the normal daily life of a family. The residential villas hold only one sex in each, but rigid segregation of the sexes is avoided. And on all possible social occasions, and in working and training situations, boys and girls are combined. In the dormitories, a family grouping pattern is followed, with a fairly wide range of ages, rather than separating adults from children. Naturally, this scheme must take account of the varying capabilities of the individual patient.
Dog, treat. Right there. Hello?
Within the shelter of the hospital, normal community activities are beyond the reach and imagination of the patient. Following a wedding of two staff members held in the hospital chapel, the interest of the children naturally centered for a time round such ceremonies.
We give this woman a marriage. Carol, will you give this man your lawful husband? I do. Sonny, will you take this woman and this for your lawful wife?
I do. Get mine.
Oh, you're almost racing him, Arthur. You try again. Well, I think, Arthur, as soon as he's finished, we'll put him away now, and I'll get you to do something else. Just leave him there. That's right, I'll put him away here. Now, Arthur, these pieces, if put together correctly, will make a boy. Go ahead and put them together.
A medical diagnosis and a full intellectual assessment is made of each patient, who's then classified as educable or trainable. Patients' progress is recorded daily and reviewed at regular conferences between members of all sections of the staff. Each child's education is planned individually.
The first case today is the case of Arthur, and we want to consider his placement in Cameron House, which appears to be likely to benefit him. But I would like to get your opinion, Mrs. Ross, as to the psychological findings and assessment in his case.
Yes, Dr. Cameron. Well, when I examined Arthur, I found he had an IQ in the 73 to 83 range. This places him in the upper special class level. He is a boy who's very much in need of individual attention. He could be very much helped with language development in small groups, and I feel he needs to form very close relationships with people and would be helped in this way.
Thank you, Mrs. Ross. Now, Mr. Legel, from a nursing point of view, what is your opinion as to the advisability of this transfer?
When Arthur was first placed in mono-eye, Doctor, he was very unruly, very disturbed. But since then, he has successfully responded to training and to his environment. And I think the placement in the new villa of Cameron House would be greatly to his advantage, where he will receive more individual attention.
Thank you, Mr. McGill. Mr. Graham, from the training officer's point of view, what is your opinion of his placement in this other villa?
Well, correlating the reports from the school and from occupational therapy department and looking at his general training program, I feel that his movement there, together with increased work on speech therapy and play, would be to his advantage, provided at the same time we increase his socialization by joining in such things as clubs to help him maybe towards future placement in the community.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're all agreed that Arthur's placement should be to Cameron House, and I'm sure that it will be to his advantage.
Your colour's black. See if you can find your colour.
Here. Here. Here.
That's right. Now you go and clean your teeth, eh? See if you can find your fish.
Cameron House is a special villa for a small group of children. Boys from the hospital population, usually in the higher IQ range, who have emotional and behavior problems, are given special attention in this villa. Training and therapy are integrated. The whole life and organization of the villa is planned with this dual purpose constantly in mind. So far as is practicable, the children live and learn as a family group, in close association with the nurse in charge of the villa.
You put it down, Robert. Look at it right there, that's right.
Mo grand? So he put on all his fine clothes, he went out for a walk in the jungle, and by and by he met
A tiger!
and the tiger said to him, "Little Black Sambo, I'm going to eat you up." And Little Black Sambo said, "Oh, please, Mr. Tiger, don't eat me up, and I'll give you my beautiful little red coat." So the tiger said, "Very well."
Much thought and ingenuity has gone into the designing and equipping of this villa. The hospital's own maintenance staff have been responsible for the whole project. Their interest and enthusiasm in launching this new venture has played no small part in ensuring the success of Cameron House. In the training block, special classes emphasize the development of motor skills, the coordination of hand-eye movements, and confidence and precision in the handling and manipulation of a variety of forms, materials, and equipment.
Number 5. Pick up 5 sticks out of the box and count them for me.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Good boy.
Trainable subnormals comprise the majority of patients in the hospital. IQ levels of this group range from about 15 to 50, and the diagnostic pattern is very complex, so that there's less consistency in the ability range than amongst the educables.
2, 3, 4, out. 2, 3, 4, in. 2, 3, 4, hold it. 2, 3, 4, out. 2, 3, 4. Now I want us to hold our fingers in front of us.
Because of limitations in the verbal field, work tends to be concentrated in non-verbal and social fields, although attention is paid to improving vocabulary and comprehension of basic concepts such as relative size, spatial orientation, and self. Detailed attention is also given to sight and sound associations in the establishment of a full range of meanings and associations for words in everyday use. Under a training officer's guidance, using equipment devised and made in the hospital, boys of the educable group practice hand-eye movement coordination on a series of patterns which progressively become more complicated. Extensive use is made of auxiliary teaching aids, both visual and auditory, in these programs. These aids are particularly valuable in ensuring uniformity of presentation of material, which has to be reused frequently and repeated at varying intervals. Interest is focused on the screen and the spoken word with a minimum of distraction from other sources. The time spent by each group in these more intensive learning situations must necessarily be fairly short. But with standardized film strips, colored slides, and tape recordings, the training program can be used over and over again without any risk of puzzling and confusing variations in the mode of presentation. Promoting physical development, gymnasium classes are designed to improve concentration and to teach reaction to instructions of graduated complexity.
Standing up straight, boys. Hands down by your sides. Now run up and touch the back wall. Back to your place. Right, standing up straight. Hands down by your sides. Murray's team, change with Lloyd's team. Quickly.
Drugs, including those of the ataratic group, have a place in the management of the more pronounced behavior disorders and can enable even severely disturbed children to be re-socialized into the normal life of the hospital community.
Get on, folks.
That's my boy. Blind presser. Look at that.
All right, quiet, please. Ready for grace? Now, quietly together, please.
In the newer villas, a common dining room serves 2 dormitory blocks. Amongst adult patients, competition is keen for the privilege of assisting the staff. This natural feeling is channeled and developed by grouping suitable patients in dormitories on a family basis rather than on age. The resultant development of a family-type relationship provides security and emotional warmth for the youngsters, and also develops feelings of a normal protective kind in the older ones and encourages them to accept responsibility for others.
Well, that mixture looks very nice now, eh? Now we'll put the butter in and cook it.
Occupational therapy at this hospital is an integral part of the progressive training program, not merely an occupational end. Emphasis is on domestic types of activity: cooking, sewing, housekeeping. Some 200 patients use this department daily, and the work they do is specifically tailored to their needs. Objectives aimed at are improved coordination, color differentiation, number work, and the use of hand tools. The traditional craft work, which to some people is synonymous with occupational therapy, has a place in the overall program, but a subsidiary place only. The emphasis on weaving and pottery is rather towards their value as leisure activities. They're not regarded as hospital industries. Sporting and social activities are organized by a recreational therapist. A number of horses are kept at the hospital, whose care and grooming are attended to by some of the patients. A cant around the grounds is one of the most popular activities for all ages. Other sports, such as cricket, bowls and softball, are played in season, with hospital teams competing creditably against outside teams. A very keen interest in the hospital welfare is shown by the people of the district. Voluntary workers and clubs regularly visit and join the patients in a wide range of fun and games, providing a most valuable experience by bringing them into closer contact with the community.
Your turn, son.
In all recreational and social activities, mingling of patients and the outside world is encouraged. Parents may visit children at any time, on any day, and if they wish, take them for an outing. They're also encouraged to take their children home for the long Christmas and Easter vacations. Once a month, the patient's own dance band provides the music for staff and visitors to join them in an evening of uninhibited enjoyment. Programming the industrial side of training is closely related to the needs of both the hospital and local industry. Many of the items of equipment used in the training schedule are made by the patients. Methods in this department are aimed at familiarizing the patient likely to return to the community with regular work hours, factory procedure, work quotas, and self-discipline. It is here that the importance of the hospital's proximity to Levin and its light industry becomes apparent. A major part of the work in the industry section is the assembly of packaging and advertising material for the local factories. Payment for this work goes to a social fund, which is used to provide sporting and social amenities for the patients. The assembly process can also be broken down to cater for those incapable of following through a series of actions, thus enabling them to contribute to a communal effort with resultant personal satisfaction. For the patients in the educable subnormal group, a special school is run in the hospital, staffed by teachers from the Department of Education. With development of educative facilities generally, these patients will be found in psychopedic hospitals only when aggravated by emotional disorders or social difficulty. Emphasis in teaching is placed on social intelligence rather than on academic subjects. To avoid undue stresses during the process of habilitation, progress is necessarily slow, allowing each new gain to be consolidated before each progressive step.
And two. Approach the how much is that? 26. And T is 9. 3 and 6 and 9.
For a relatively small number of patients, about 10%, the culmination of their years of slow, steady training is their re-entry into the outside world, with daily attendance at a work position in local industry. Eventually, the patient may leave the hospital to work and live outside, with continuing guidance arranged for by the hospital. But for most of the patients, the future is tied to a life within the hospital or under some comparable form of supervision. Here, in these sheltered surroundings, they'll work and live, contributing in a small but satisfying way something to the community, living a life that's made as full as possible through the goodwill of the local community and the specialized nursing of the hospital staff.